Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Tindangle Yugioh deck profile for post Dawn of Majesty. With the release of Dawn of Majesty, we were given the final support for the Tindangles that I believe are currently out, and that is Tindangle Yugioh. This card just adds immense search power to the deck, so very happy for bringing another update to the deck. Like I said, I've been doing probably a good amount of updates for Tindangles lately, just with their copious amount of support they've been getting released with each and every set. I know it's normally just one card, but it still adds to some pretty big changes to ratios to the deck that I feel entail an update altogether. So once again, the main focus of the Tindangle deck is to summon out a bunch of monsters that you then use to summon out your Tindangle Link monster, and then use those plays, depending on what monsters that Link monster is pointing to, activate a bunch of different flip effects, and then go from there. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for our newest Tindangle monster, we are running 3 of the Tindangle Yugioh. It's a Fiend Flip monster with all the Tindangles having different flip effects. With this one, you can take one flip monster from your deck, except for Tindangle Yugioh, and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. So this setup immensely helps depending on the situation you have for the particular monster. You either add to your hand or send to the graveyard. You can set it up in your graveyard to special summon onto the field, or add to your hand to use from your hand from that turn when you flip this card up. And also, if this card is in your hand, you can discard one other card to send one Tindangle card from your deck to the graveyard, except Tindangle Yugioh. And if you do special summon this card in face down defense position, you can only use each effect of Yugioh once per turn. So not only does Yugioh not have to take up your normal summon for the set onto the field, that setup for more graveyard plays is a big help for that setup. Like I said before, having those monsters in your graveyard makes use of all the different Tindangle spell or traps, which we'll get to in just a bit. But this card is a definite 3 of for that play setup. It goes for the main focus of what the Tindangle deck is meant to do, whether you use its flip effect or its hand effect to set it up onto the field. For some of the other 3 ofs that we run for the Tindangle monsters, I also run 3 Tindangle Trinity. With the flip effect, you can special summon 1 Tindangle Base Gardna from your deck, with Base Gardna being one of the boss monsters we run in the deck. So one of the lower number ones we run, but still good for the setup with cards like Tindangle Trinity. And being from the deck, if we have lower numbers, it's a better chance that we'll at least hit it with this card. And if this card is flip face up, your Tindangle monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. If this card is sent to the graveyard as link material for the link summon of a Tindangle monster, you can add 1 Gurgon's End from your deck to your hand. If you do send 1 spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard, you can only use this effect of Trinity once per turn. So once again, more setup. Trinity more focuses on the spell and trap setup, with this card also being a big help for Gurgon's End. But a lot of the Tindangle cards focus on searching themselves out by banishing same copies of the card from the graveyard and discarding Tindangle cards. So being able to set up a spell or trap in the graveyard for that search is what makes Trinity so good for that search power, and also just being able to set up one of our main go-to monsters with its flip effect. For the last of the 3 ofs that I run for the Tindangles, I also run 3 Tindangle Protector. I always like to go for as pure of a deck build I can with the Tindangles, focusing on the main power of the monsters. With this one, when it's flipped, you can change up to 3 face down defense position monsters you control into face up defense position. Then if all those monsters are Tindangle monsters, add up to that many Tindangle cards from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Tindangle Protector once per turn. So remember, it says Tindangle cards. There aren't really any spells or traps that have Tindangle in their name, so more of the focus will fall on those cards that you use for the play, and that's why also cards like Tindangle Trinity just say spell or trap to send for it. But with Protector, you have more search power for more different Tindangle monsters that you can use for then going into your link summon of your Tindangle Acute Cerberus. And also with this card having that setup, just another easy lower level monster to summon when you use Yugioh for the special summon set, and then just setting up Protector, having those monsters to go for their additional flip effects when you flip them up onto the field. For some of the lower numbers for the Tindangle monsters, still running Tindangle Duels, but after the playtesting in the newest addition to the deck, I reduced this card down to 2. With its flip effect, you can send 1 spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard. So another great setup card, just like Trinity for the graveyard, but more or less not as big of a cost, because it just happens on the flip resolution. And if this card is sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, you can target 1 Tindangle monster from in your graveyard, except for Tindangle Duels, to special summon it in face down defense position. You can only use each of the preceding effects of Tindangle Duels once per turn, and a Tindangle Link monster that send this card's material can make 3 attacks during each battle phase. That is definitely one of the scariest things about this card, because Tindangle Acute Cerberus can hit some pretty big attack power, having the 3 different names in your graveyard, getting 500 attack for each one it points to. Also, for that power. So having the 3 different attacks, it gains 3,000 originally from the 3 different names, and the additional 500, and 3 attacks can be the potential game win against your opponent. So having this card set up for the link play is another added bonus for also just set up with cards like Jirelth, giving you the flip option and then set up for other higher level Tindangle monsters. Another one of the higher level ones, we run 2 Tindangle Base Gardener. If you control a face down defense position monster, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. You can only special summon Base Gardener once per turn this way. If a monster is normal or special summon and is now pointed to an opponent's link monster except during the damage step, you contribute this card to special summon 1 Tindangle monster from your hand or deck in attack position or face down defense position. So once again, having the option for just quickly setting up Tindangle Jirelth for our set to special summon Base Gardener, we also have Tindangle Trinity to rely on for the flip to special. That's why I'm only running 2 of this card. It's good for the setup, but otherwise, if we just open up multiple copies of Base Gardener, there really isn't much we can do. We need that graveyard setup and already the flip setup on the field to rely on. So I find 2 is fine in the deck to run. If you wanted to bump up any of the numbers, you could always mix around some of the numbers of Tindangle Duels or the number of Tindangle Protector you run and increase the number of Base Gardener. And then for some other 2-ofs in the deck, I also run 2 Tindangle Angel. With the flip, you can special summon 1 flip monster from your hand or graveyard in face down defense position, except for Angel. Then if your opponent's in the battle phase and the battle phase, once again, a defensive card against your opponent. It's good for that setup, giving you more monsters and then just abruptly ending your opponent's battle phase. But once again, it's situational since it has to special summon from the hand or graveyard. So if you don't have those resources to rely on, there's really not much your opponent, fear from this card because they'll just attack into it and you won't have any answers for them if they've already taken care of some of the particular answers in your graveyard or you don't have them in your hand. But still good when you have them to rely on because it's just another stall out card for you to then play out your own plays. I also run 2 Tindangle Intruder for the last of the 2-ofs in the deck. With a flip, you can add 1 Tindangle card from your deck to your hand, and when this card is normal summoned, you can send 1 Tindangle card from your deck or grade to the graveyard. And if a monster is special summoned to your field face down defense position while this card is in your graveyard, special summon this card face down. This is not optional. You can only use each effect of Intruder once per turn. So I only run 2 of this card because once it's set up in the graveyard for your plays, then you basically have the card that can reset on the field each time you basically do what the Tindangle deck is meant to do. So with it, I only run the 2, so we have the option of seeing it more quickly in the deck, but also for the fact that your opponent may potentially banish the 1, because then having this reset card on the field to use is a big option. So we always want at least that 1 to go into in case our opponent takes care of the other one. And then lastly, just the 1 Tindangle Hound for the only 1 of in the deck. I really feel you only need 1. You can target 1 other face-up monster on the field. This card gains attack equal to that card target's original attack. Then change that target to face-down defense position. And each monster your opponent control loses 1,000 attack for each monster linked to it. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 face-down monster on the field and change it to face-up defense position. So all you need to really do is set up Hound on the field with your Acute Cerberus, then lowering the attack and then having enough power to beat over your opponent's monster with Tindangle Acute Cerberus, and the fact that you can attack 3 times means hitting bigger numbers against your opponent also, including those monsters that may be a little more difficult to get over. And then the only other monster I run in the deck, you can either run the Hand Trap option, Ash Blossom, or Effect Veiler. But for more of the link plays from the extra deck, I'm running 3 Scapegoats, being another flip card in the deck, just being able to give you tuners on the field. Not only can the tokens on the field be used for tributes for some of your higher level Tindangles to set up after you summon them. There's no restriction for them, obviously. You just have to fill the field up with them. And then also giving you more of the option for potential synchro plays if you wished with the extra deck. I don't run any synchros, but you could always go for cards like Borreload Savage Dragon or any other options like the Clear Wing lineup for those plays, for the fact that this card is a level 1 tuner. But most of the time when your opponent attacks into it, it won't survive since it only has 0 attack and defense for those summons. And that is it for the monsters. I felt like I was flipping my cards around a lot during the monster explanation, but that's just because, all the monsters, or at least the good majority of them, I don't think Gurgon's End, were flip monsters. But now moving on to the spells, I run 3 Nigel's Protection. With this card, Tindangle monsters in your main monster zone cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects. And once per turn, if your Tindangle monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, the damage is doubled. You can banish this card from your graveyard and discard 1 Tindangle card card to add 1 Nagel's Protection from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. So there's the recycle power that I spoke of before for the spell and traps in the Tindangle deck. Being able to banish and then set up another Tindangle monster in our graveyard is a big help there. But also the destroy by battle or opponent's card effects is a huge help, because then you won't have to risk losing any of your Tindangle monsters that battle against your opponent's monsters, and then save them for the Link Summon after you resolve their flip effects. That's why you want to run 3 of this card, so you always have this continuous card to protect against your opponent. I also run 3 Yugiouh's Circuit, actually 2. I get the cards mixed up with the next one especially, but 2 Yugiouh's Circuit. It's the field spell. Once again, with this one, I don't run the field spell Search or Terraforming because you don't really need it with all the setup. It's meant to mostly either go into the graveyard and be searched out if your opponent's monster cannot attack. If you control 3 or more Tindangle monsters, and once per turn during your standby phase, you can target 1 Tindangle monster you control, give it control to your opponent, and you can banish this card from your graveyard and discard 1 Tindangle card to add 1 Yugiouh's Circuit from your deck to your hand. So if your opponent gets rid of the one, or you just set it up in your graveyard, that can be your search answer to search out the other copy of Yugiouh's Circuit in your deck to activate on the field. It's more protection against your opponent for your monsters, but also being able to set up the proper arrows for cards that your Acute Cerberus will point to on the field. I also run 2 Stairs of Mail. I dropped this card down to 2 with the addition of Jiralth in the deck, and this one being a once per turn, and also during your main phase, you can activate this effect to discard 1 Tindangle card and apply one of these effects to change 1 face down defense position monster you control to face up attack position, to change 1 face up attack position monster your opponent controls to face down defense position. All this setup definitely does come in handy, and this turn you cannot discard another card with the same name for each effect of Stair Mail, even if this card leaves the field. So you can keep using the card, you just have to have the different names for the discard on the field. But this is immense setup to just use our flip effects that much faster on the field, flipping them up or flipping them face down to reuse. And for some of the other spells I run in the deck, I also run 3 Foolish Burial Goods to set up the spells for basically just having a searcher in the deck for them. If you want to only run 2 Foolish Burial Goods, you can add in the 3rd copy of Stairs of Mail. It's just, I was trying to test out more of the search power, because like I said, with just one of this card and another Tindangle monster in your hand, it's the search option for any of the spell or traps we run in the deck that work with the Tindangle cards. And for more of the special summon option for our link positions, I also run 2 World Legacy Succession. Being able to special summon to an arrow is basically what the deck was meant to do, so this is just an added bonus. And then for the one-ofs for the spells, I run 1 Monster Reborn for, once again, you can summon to the link arrows, but you have more freedom with this card also. So if you don't have any link arrows, at least this card will give you a special summon anywhere on the field. And lastly, the 1 Foolish Burial for more monster setup to special summon to any of the link arrows we have on the field to use better with our Acute Cerberus. And then as for the traps, I'm running 3 Tindangle Yugioh. With this one, when you take battle damage from an opponent's attacking monster, while you have 3 or more Tindangle monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can destroy the attacking monster. If you do special summon 1 Tindangle Acute Cerberus from your extra deck, if you control no monsters in the extra monster zone, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 3 Tindangle monsters with different names in your graveyard, special summon them in face down defense position. I would definitely say this is probably the best card in the deck, just for that easy setup. And all you have to do is take battle damage from an opponent's attacking monster. So you can just set this card, and then if you have cards in your graveyard, it's your go-to play right then and there. It's a definite 3 of. It doesn't have the search power. It has the banish for more options for getting monsters on the field. So even if your opponent takes down your entire field setup and you just draw into this card and their one attack doesn't finish you off, this could be the activation that at least gets you back in the game against your opponent. And lastly, I also run 2 Gurgons, and this is more of just a protection for the link monster you have on the field. That's why I'm only running 2 of this card for that option, and then just giving you the option to hit for your opponent for more damage against your opponent. But Yugioh is definitely a better trap just for the initial setup of Acute Cerberus. Moving on now to the link monsters. If we ever get a lower link monster for the Tindangles, it'll immensely power up this deck. But for now, we're making use with our only link monster, and that is Tindangle Acute Cerberus. Needing 3 Tindangle monsters, it gains 3,000 attack if you have 3 or more Tindangle monsters with different names in your graveyard. So the initial link summon will put this card at 3,000 attack, and also it gains 500 attack for each Tindangle monster this card points to. At the end of the battle phase of this card declaring attack, you can special summon 1 Tindangle token to the field, putting it in one of the link arrow zones will then give you that power on the field. You can even use your setup with your Euler's circuit to give the token to your opponent to put into the arrow and then just make it that much more stronger. Yes, it will give them a resource to use, but still just a better way to power up your own monster on the field or a pesky monster on your field that they just can't use. For more of the generic Link lineup, especially with these scapegoats, I run 2 Wee Witch's Apprentice for the Dark Attribute, which is the majority of all the cards in the deck, including your ghost tokens that you'll make. So the power boost and recycle power for any of our Tindangle monsters in the graveyard is why I like running 2 of this card. And also 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Master King Archfiend, 1 Security Dragon, 1 Barricade Board Blocker, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Link Karibo for the Scapegoats again, Salmon Great Owl Mirage for more of the normal summon options we can go into with monsters with 1,000 or less attack, even if we just go for that normal summon to then go for another easy Link monster to use with World Legacy Succession. Also 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Decode Talker, and 1 Apollosa to finish off the extract. We're going for all the Link monster lineup, but like I said before, if you want to try using a synchro monster, you can take out the Decode Talker for a Borreload Savage Dragon to work with the Scapegoats tuner. And then as for the go-to plays, Tindangle Yugioh really added a lot for the playstyle setup in the deck, using cards like Stairs of Mail. For the flip adjustment, you can first use Yugioh if it's in your hand to discard another card if the card you discard is a searchable spell or trap for the Tindangles, like Nagel's Protection. You can then summon out your Yugioh with that Send, having another Tindangle monster to discard. Special summon this card for that option, then you activate Stair of Mails, with this one being able to discard a Tindangle card, applying the effect to change 1 defense monster you control to face-up attack position, and if you have base Gardna in your hand, just gives you another special summon onto the field. You will then flip up your Tindangle Yugioh to take a flip monster from your deck and either add to your hand or send it to the graveyard. So adding it to your hand will just give you more discard power. So then you can add the Tindangle card, discarding it, and then banishing for the spell you set up in the graveyard to give you the additional search onto the field without having to really minus any of the hand cards altogether with that. And then being able to use Stair of Mails if you also have the additional Tindangle cards in your hand to discard, giving you more and more flip power with each and every one you discard. And then having that enough strength to go for the Link 3 monster. Also, when you set up, I think I set this in the field zone, but this is the continuous spell. With that setup and the protection against your opponent's monster is what you can use to then go for the all-star play, which is then to get your 3rd monster out onto the field. Whether you have the setup with cards like Tindangle Angel, giving you more of the setup for more monsters on the field to use, you can then go for the Link 3 play into your Acute Cerberus, having all 3 of the monsters in your graveyard, giving this card the 3,000 attack boost. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. This will probably be my last Tindangle deck for a while. I don't know if they have any more support. Every time I upload a video, I always find out about another new card we don't have for the deck. But I think Yugioh was actually the last one we had for the good majority of the support. So until we get more support, I'll definitely be looking forward to it. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira, Twig out.